Welcome back to my channel. My name is Dakshna and this is my video on how to set boundaries for yourself and other people. I know. I know this is such a it's an important topic. If you want to build confidence with yourself, you need to have boundaries. Like literally it's very important. Boundaries are very important. So before we get into the video, let me introduce myself. Hi, my name is Sakshita and this is my YouTube channel. I make videos about anything that I feel like I should make. My videos are not based on like a certain topic, although it does revolve a lot around self-love and just literally making yourself the best version of yourself. Okay, and I don't believe that self-love is like something you can achieve at like in I don't know 2 days. It's a process. You build that bits by bits. Okay, if you want to become a better version of yourself, you don't become that in like 2 days. Does not happen. It's a process, takes time. So if you agree with me on that, let's get into the video. I'm so awkward right now. I feel like the last video, I don't know why I've been so inconsistent with my videos. Like I just don't film them because I I just I end up forgetting to write my scripts and I'm like I have to brainstorm it in front of my phone and I can't do it. So I've written my idea on how to master boundaries as a person. It doesn't matter who you are, your type of your culture, your gender, your I don't sexuality, I don't give a fuck. We're talking about boundaries right here, right now. So growing up I was a people pleaser because my parents were emotionally unstable. They still are. My mom, I wouldn't say she's the most emotionally mature person, and I am my mother's daughter, so I feel like that should make it clear to the people how I am. Okay, so growing up, I used to be very like dependent on people's emotions. Like, I would literally be so into I'm literally, oh my god, I live in a neighborhood where everyone just keeps on screaming and it's so embarrassing. I can't even film a video. I literally have a speaker which should record my own voice, but it does, and it just records everything in my background too. That's why I don't use my phone, because my phone does that too, and I didn't want my speaker to do that too. But okay, so growing up, I was very emotionally dependent on people. Like, I think before doing anything, this is like before doing anything, I would like check in with people if they were okay with me doing a certain thing, even if it was like buying shit from the money like I got as a present, or somebody, even my relatives would give me money and I would save it until I could buy a certain thing for myself. I would always require like people's assistance. I didn't have boundaries. A people pleaser. I know. Recently my brother told me that every time I play like a song, I every time I play a song on a speaker, I look at my brother and my mother before I play that to kind of, it was to kind of get their like, I don't know, to get to get their response if they like it or not. It was a subconscious thing that I used to do. until my brother like literally told me. I didn't even know I was doing that until he like pointed it out for me. So I think that was my uh I was like, I'm still a people pleaser. Let's get into the video. So growing up, very people pleasing. I lacked boundaries a lot, a lot. I think even through my teenage years, I was like, I'm still a teenager, by the way. Why the fuck am I talking like I'm 60 or something? But yeah, I lacked boundaries a lot during my. So sorry. I think I was a people pleaser to a point where I would like stop studying because my friends would tell me, oh, I'm not gonna study, so you shouldn't too. And I would be like, oh, I should obey that because, they're my friends, whatever, they don't like me anymore. I don't know, I had so many issues, I guess. I would feel so sad, like, I would feel so empty if I didn't take care of people need before my own. So let me give you an example. One time it was a scribbling day for my 12th. I know. So my friend had a red flag boyfriend, very red flag, and she was a person who would literally be. She was so I don't know if I should badmouth her, but she was the type of person. Every time she would have a fight with a toxic boyfriend, she would suddenly remember we were her friends, and when she patched up with him, she remembered she didn't have any friends. So she was like that, but I lacked boundaries. So what I did was, instead of enjoying my scribbling day, she had a fight with her boyfriend. I was like, oh my god, I can't enjoy my party. I can't enjoy it. I can't enjoy like literally writing on people's t-shirts and dancing because that's what we were doing. I need to take a hold of her. I need to talk to her. What if she's going through a lot of bullshit? Although that was like really constant. If you don't like a guy, I mean, if you like a guy but he's toxic, what are you doing with him? I think I believe in the term like, if you don't like something, give it up. The universe will give you something much better, much amazing, much beautiful than the previous one. The boyfriend, I don't think he was like, I know I shouldn't badmouth people, but he was like so toxic. He would constantly tell her to drop us because we were giving her a conscious, like, we were not in love with him, so we would see right through his bullshit because how toxic he was. And yeah, so basically she was having this fight with him, and I was like, I couldn't enjoy it because she was crying, and I was like, oh, let me be a good friend. So I literally missed my whole party situation until it was almost the end because I was like consoling her, and you were like, you're such a bad friend. Why did you console her if you wanted to like air it out to people on the internet? It was not that. It was the fact that after I consoled her for literally, I think, 2 hours, she had the audacity to tell me that I was getting between her and my boyfriend, and I was like acting like a bitch because I got zero bitches. Crazy. I mean, she didn't say it like literally. That would be so mean and I would start crying, but she implied that, when you're like a little sneaky with your behavior and you're saying bad shit about people to their face and they know it too, but you don't say it out loud. Instead, you drop the hints and bits and pieces. That's how she was. And it was crazy. I mean, every time I was constantly in a cycle where I would do so much for people, and yet they would think of me as a villain because, I would be like doing so much for them, and I would expect the same because that's humanity, that's life. You know, if you're going out of your way to maybe like take care of a person, you expect the same from them. And every time I would ask someone, my friends, who literally I would go beyond earth to like do something for them, they would just constantly, they didn't even have time to hang out with me or like even ask me about how I was doing after my grandma died. And my grandma actually died before, one day before my farewell. And I know this sounds so crazy. My grandma was not a, you know, not the most amazing of grandma, but she was my grandma. So what they did was they didn't give a fuck about my grandma or how I was dealing with death, because that was my first real life experience of death. All they gave a fuck about was if I was coming to the farewell or not. Crazy. I did so much for them. And also, why am I trauma dumping? So yeah, basically this is my story about how I was a people pleaser. Now how that changed for me was like not consciously waking up one day and be like, oh my god, I have boundaries. You know, I have boundaries, I'm gonna practice them. No. It was a conscious decision I made on my part, where I was like so tired of people constantly treating me like a fucking doormat and me treating them better than their own parents did. Because it's not my fucking fault that you have mommy issue or daddy issue, and I'm not your fucking mommy or daddy to, or your therapist to literally make you get over it. So these are the things I used to do to like practice boundaries, and now I have enough boundaries that I think I have zero friends. Because all my friends, they used to test my boundaries and I was like, you need to go, bye. I just stopped talking to them. Crazy. But yeah, first thing I did was like, I feel like I'm not making the right video. First thing I did, I'm gonna edit it. First thing I did was actually write out what were my boundaries. You know, what thing triggered me and what didn't. And you can find it out by actually being in relationship, whether it be friendships or romantically. I've not been yet romantically involved with a guy. I've had a lot of crushes. Not romantically involved. I got zero bitches. I have zero bitches. So I don't know what boundaries I should practice romantically, but I have quite high standards. So I feel like I have boundaries, but let's not talk about it. Every time I talk like this, I feel like I have social anxiety, but I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I don't have it because I'm delusional. I'm not. Identify your boundaries, what you like, what you don't like. Very important. You should have the pros and cons of a person. No, you should have your boundaries written down on a piece of paper. If you can do it, or literally write it down on your fucking notes app. But do that. If you don't know what boundaries you should have, you're gonna have a really fucking big problem. Because you'll be like, oh, do I like it or do I not like it? You know, you'll be very confused if it's my boundary or not. And then consciously taking decisions slowly that would help you set up your boundaries. For example, I myself, I used to cross my boundaries myself. You know, I would talk to people who I know were emotionally draining me, although I made this decision with myself that I wouldn't. That was me crossing my boundary because I subconsciously believed that, I could not be taken seriously or my boundaries could be crossed. So start with yourself. You know, if you feel like you're crossing some of your boundaries, whether it be not studying or maybe not working out, not eating healthy, these are boundaries. Yes. And if you're crossing them constantly, you need to sit down and have a talk with yourself. I know I do it all the time. Journaling really helps with that. So, you know, just ask yourself why you're doing that. Although you know if you study, you're going to get good grades, a good job, or whatever success you want in your life. If you eat healthy, you'll have a healthy body. If you work out, you'll become strong. So, all these things have the positive aspects. Oh my god, there's construction going on somewhere. So all these things have positive impact on your life, but why are you constantly deciding to not do them? You know, sit with yourself and write those things down. You know, ask yourself the question why until you reach your problem, your belief that is limiting you. Do that until you figure it out. And after you've done that, and don't do it one day. Don't just sit with yourself on a day and literally write about all the things you find yourself doing, which are actually actively making you cross your boundaries. Don't do that all in one day. Just do it slowly so your brain isn't burned out. Because if you do it all at once, it will make you think like you don't, you know, it will make your brain think like, oh, this is another one of our episodes, because you can't just wake up one day and be like, oh, I'm gonna change my life and then succeed at it. No, changing your life is a process, takes time, doesn't happen overnight. All these empires, buildings, trees, and all these, you know, physical, all these things which exist physically, they didn't end up happening in one day. You know, your country didn't start to exist just one day. It was a active conscious action of hundreds of people to make this country, right? Don't just sit with yourself one day and be like, oh, I'm gonna fucking have boundaries now, and just, you know, write with yourself, oh, I'm gonna work out, I'm gonna wake up at 6 a.m. and then the next day you wake up, you're like, oh, I don't give a fuck. Because yeah, that's what happens when you try to change your life all in one day.